Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Cinnamon Chat with Amita, Sri Lanka's first LinkedIn live talk show. And I would like to welcome all of you who are joining on LinkedIn, on Facebook, as well as on YouTube. Today is going to be a very special episode. But before that, let me talk about this show a little bit. Now, 45 weeks ago, when I first got LinkedIn Live, probably as the second person to go on LinkedIn Live in Sri Lanka, I wanted to try something new. I wanted to add value to my network. So I thought maybe I would bring an expert and talk to each other and add value to my LinkedIn family. So eventually, I started live streaming on Facebook and YouTube as well. So there are people who are joining this show every week from LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube as well. So let me talk a little bit about myself. My name is Amita Gamage. I'm an executive coach. I love coaching CEOs. I have a good clientele from Sri Lanka and other countries who are top executives. Most of them are working in multinationals and some are entrepreneurs. And then I also help senior executives and entrepreneurs build their personal brand, which could help them move to the next level. And then I also help B2B organizations move their sales performance to the next level. And this week, I was thinking now, as you know, those who are joining from Sri Lanka, we are on a lockdown, a nationwide lockdown, while those who are coming, joining my show from other countries, I was thinking about adding different kind of value to today's show. And I thought we'll bring someone very special because if you look at the most vulnerable group with this lockdown and pandemic are the children, the kids. And we hear that there are a lot of webinars, conferences about working from home to schooling from home to so many things, but then it's not enough. So, in order to add value, I thought I would bring someone very special. Apparently, I have a story behind this. My two kids, the elder one is 16 years and the younger one is 12. They have been looked after by this gentleman whom I'm going to interview today. And I'm so much grateful to him for looking after my two kids from day one. Yeah. So, so it is an honor for me to bring him here and to show my gratitude also while adding value to my network. So let me invite Dr. R. Ajantan to the show, and let me also read out his credentials. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Amita. Good evening.
Okay, so he's a consultant pediatrician, former senior lecturer, Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo, Sri Lanka, past president of Sri Lanka College of Pediatricians, fellow in pediatric intensive care, Children's Hospital, Westmed, Australia, JICA fellow, National Children's Hospital, Tokyo. I hope I read your credentials right.
Perfect.
Yeah. So as I told you, the the most important thing for me is my two kids are healthy and happy because you have been looking after them from day one. So again, my gratitude. So Dr.
That's fine.
Ajanta, yes. So my first question is about, we are going to talk about kids and I want to talk about your childhood first. I mean, I wonder sometimes the child behind this gentleman, some decades back. You want to talk about your childhood, your education, your family a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I think it's very interesting. My father was a doctor too. He was more into childcare, and basically, as born and bred in Bamboo, but brought up by parents who were born and bred in Jaffna. Decided what to do for my future. So my grandfather and my grandparents were in Migambo, so my mother came for a degree in Migambo. And for your information, Amita, I went to preschool at Ave Maria Convent, and then to my school. And basically, I had the two, I would say, super schools in Karam.
Okay.
My initial years at St. Thomas. And then my last 3 years was at Royal College because my parents felt that this fellow will never enter medical school because having too many friends at St. Thomas's. So that was one issue. And no regrets moving to Royal College for my advanced levels. And basically entered medical school. Due to various government policies, I was educated at the University of Jaffna, in Medical Faculty University of Jaffna. I passed out in 1986, and basically since then I've been working in around and it was in the health department with at the Lady Ridge Hospital, the National Hospital of Sri Lanka. And eventually in 1994, after my postgraduate degree, decided to join the University. Why pediatrics is something which, when you get into the field of medicine, care is much more luxurious. Handling newborns is something which very few people like to do. And it is interesting to know that how to assess a child who is unable to talk. So you have to be able to assess and realize the fact that this child has something more. And always I remember one thing, listen to the parents. The mother on most occasions is very correct. And, never ignore what the mother is complaining about, even if there is a doubt. So my school days were fine. And I'm here as a consultant pediatrician now. And I should add on one more thing. Third generation, my son too, qualified as a doctor. Yesterday, his results were out. So we are happy that we have 3 generations of doctors online. So that is something which I've been very happy with.
Yeah, I shared the news with my wife, and then she was saying, my children don't have to worry about their children.
So it has been like that, and I think things have been very well. So there were a lot of people who inquired, whether they would like to work in Sri Lanka or work abroad. But we always felt that nothing like Sweet Home with all the problems under the sun. We thought, we will have a name in Sri Lanka. So when we went for our training abroad to Australia in '96, we decided to come back, and with the university job, I was happy with it. So we went on till 2011. And at the age of 50, decided whether I freelance or be with the university. So thought we will go freelance and went into complete private practice on the 1st of January 2012. So after my 50th birthday. So for the last 11 years, I have been basically 10 years I've been working in the private sector, and I have no regrets. So there have been the good days and the bad days, and we are very, very happy when parents are happy with what we have done for their children, and they are, basically thankful to what we do with our job, and that is the most important factor.
Thing, yes. So thank you very much. Detailed explanation for my question. So we have Tamit, who has joined us. Good evening, both of you. Hi, Tamit. Thank you very much for joining. So my first question, because we are going to talk about children, and there's something called pandemic. I'm sure a lot of parents are coming to you, kids are coming to you. I'm sure you are getting calls. So my question is the pandemic affecting the kids? Meaning, sometimes you might think that the kids are happy at home because they hate school, they hate the daycare. Is the pandemic affecting kids?
I think, put it this way. In some instances, kids may be happy being at home, but in most instances, the kids prefer to go to school than be at home because they have their friends, they meet new people, they have a time to play, outing, there is always social integration, all that. I think
Yes.
going back to your basic question on whether it is affecting kids, yes, it has affected the kids. It is on many lines. One is their behavior and their education, their health, and mainly also looking at whether they are able to develop simple behavioral attitudes of social responsibility. And we also not only being educated in school, having your friends, talking to your friends, being helpful, having empathy, all that matters, and which comes in the school education system. It is not only learning of books and learning of men, it is also learning to play the game. So you have to realize the fact that you basically need to positive and sort things out. Yes, the pandemic has really troubled the elderly population and the school children, and we are seeing more and more children affected with this. But I would like to say one global answer for this: they should be confident and comfortable looking after their children. And if there are signs of ill health, they should approach their healthcare provider and get the appropriate things sorted out. But more than being sick, I think their day-to-day lifestyle, activity, behavior, and whether they are this online education, which is causing a lot of problems for these children, all that matters for us. I think it's a global scenario. I think that is the important factor.
Okay, so we have Amanullah Hamid who says, I got to know from a relation who is living presently in Singapore that schools were never closed there since the outbreak of pandemic. Being one of the highly developed country in Asia, it's surprising to see them being different to the rest of the world. Amanullah, I personally believe they went through few lockdowns. I'm sure when you say lockdown, naturally even the schools will go on a lockdown. I personally believe they went on to a lockdown, but I'm sure they would have continued the online education, no, some form of a better structured way of educating. You have any
I
news,
mean,
Doctor?
yes, I think my niece lives in Singapore. She has a daughter who is about 7 or 8 years old. They have had closure of schools and closure of schools during except one thing. They are one of the first people to start immunizing. So vaccination, basically, the rate of vaccination was tremendous. They had comparatively better control of the population who were getting vaccinated. So the infection rate of children may have been less. So the chances of starting schools early was obviously available for them. But I would not say that there was 100% non-lockdown schooling in Singapore. They were closed for a few months on most occasions, and they have reopened early. But they are more settled with online education, even from preschoolers to primary schoolers also.
Okay, right. Thank you, Doctor. So now we have a situation. The situation is parents are working from home. Parents have basically brought the office home. So now at home, you have a school, you have office, and you have your usual house functioning. The kitchen is functioning, your day-to-day work is functioning at home. Now, your advice to parents who has brought
Yeah, I think true.
office home.
It is something. I mean, I think Amita, we have talked about this even before. It is important that the parents should realize that they bring work home, but they must realize they should do those work clothes when the children do not have online classes. If the children are there is no supervision of these children who are doing the online work. And they are on Zoom or WebEx or whatever methodology of the classes that they are going on. When it goes on for 3-4 hours continuously, the child gets exhausted. There is no concentration. And we have to realize the fact that it has to happen in a manner where it has to become child friendly, put it that way. So I think one of the problems that we face with this online education is whether people looked at whether it had become child friendly. Why do we have school classes for 45 minutes period? Why don't we have it for 2-3 hours at a time? Because we can't concentrate and the children need a break. So the teachers come in, take a class for 30-35 minutes, and they'll give you a 5-minute break, and the children get together, basically have a chat, have a joke, and then they get mentally prepared for the next class. So even on that you have a particular timing of your class, then you get a break where they can have an interconnection with their school friends or classmates, which can even online, which all on those lines. Whether we have a few studios or joint connection for the children to have integration within themselves. And the parents should be involved when the children are on online classes so that there is some support, because what the done at home by the parents. And if the parents don't get involved, it is very difficult for the child to manage on most occasions. Because it's a one-way process where the teacher gives the work and expects the child to sort things out. And there is no way that this child can ask questions and all. Then one point is that. The next point is, even as preschoolers, why do we like to send them to preschool? They like to go on time. They get up early, brush their teeth, have their milk, have their breakfast, get ready to go on time. So they learn about maintaining timings, very important in life. Not to, for an 8 o'clock session to get up and go at 10 o'clock. So that is one thing that has to happen. Then they go, they get down, they say good morning to the teacher or someone at the gate. They walk in, they know where to keep their bags. They want to go in between to the washroom. They get permission to go to the washroom. They learn to say please and thank you. So many things happens in preschool which never happens at home. And so when the online class is going on, child may have just got up from bed, maybe with the pajama, and sits online because, basically there is no streamline. So I think it's very important that we have a role play of what is happening during the school days, even at home. So parents should realize that this role play has to happen, not to give it up so that when the child loses its interest, then it's very difficult to get back onto the system. So it's very important that the online education needs these additions and changes so that you can maintain a good rapport between the teacher and the parents. Very important to do that.
Okay. So there's a little bit of extra work that the parents have to do in order to streamline things.
That's right. So we also look at, if you really look at it, communication between the school teacher and the parents and the child has to be on one mode of I would say application. It has to be either WhatsApp or Zoom or Twitter, or you do, it has to be one mode of application. Then you must have specific times where the information is sent to the parents. Maybe all your information will come at 6 in the evening to be prepared for the next day morning. So not to be haphazard. So there has to be the timetable which functions in school should be functioning online also. So that, the timings may be different, but it has to be pre-available for the parents to know at what time they should be having the classes and all that. I know that there are parents who keep awake at 10, 11 in the night to do an online class for a 8, 9-year-old, which I don't think is appropriate. And that is one problem that we face. But leaving aside all this, you have to accept the fact that only about 5 to 10% of our school-going children can afford to have a laptop or a smartphone or a computer at home to have online classes. One, only about 10% can afford to have data every month. How much of data is needed for this? So the government, looking at those options, were giving free data. But if you have 3 children at home who are schooling, you need 3 different devices to basically run the online classes. So it has been a major drawback for a developing country like ours, and which is not easy. So they have to cut corners and sort things out. And most of the time, I know there are teachers who have paid for data for their class children for them to be online to be studied. So it is not easy. It is it's a rich man's tool, and it is not a poor man's tool. You have to accept that fact that online education is a rich man's tool. So you cannot compare countries like Singapore and the Europe to Sri Lanka because we have a sufficient amount of population who can afford those things. And though we say that we 20 million users, but still it is not having a mobile phone where you only take phone calls and you pay a bill of 200, 300 rupees a month. When you have data, you can imagine how much you need to, put in for that. So these bundles of free data is useful, but at the same time, they must have the connectivity has to be good. So for some children in
Yes.
the villages, the outstations, the provinces, even if you run online Zoom classes, how much can they, gather because of the data breakdown? And you can see
Sure.
between you and me, Amita, here even in Colombo, we are finding it difficult sometimes to have proper data connection.
I mean,
So
between you and me, just now, few minutes ago, I was having, you were just breaking up. I was
you
about
can
to
see,
ask you whether.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So this is the problem.
Yeah.
So it is the environment where the child is studying. It is the either electronics and the online and the data and making sure that the children enjoy this part. We are not being inside the house. So what has the pandemic done to these children? Most of them see watching online classes. They are either munching biscuits or eating something, and they are basically becoming more and more overweight and obese also. So many things are happening over the last 20 months with these children. And we have to look at, as pediatricians, we are looking at whether we need to advise parents what type of food they should be giving, what type of activity they should be having. And also, I'm talking to you on this online mode. You can see I am seated close to the laptop. And when you go and sit so close to the laptop for 3, 4, 5 hours together, your eye refraction. Amila Dial is one of my friends and junior colleagues who's an eye surgeon, talked about this, where children need to have in vision. So they have to look out, look far. That's why they want me. So they don't need to be secluded inside the house. So it's very important that their vision is looked at. There are more and more children who need specs. And we may find there'll be more people with specs than without specs in the near future. So there are so many points that I have put for you, Amita, today. So, you can see 4 or 5 different issues that we are looking at, to get these children, to be better adults and have lesser problems. So,
Yeah, let's see. I
okay.
actually want to ask the audience whether you find any glitches on my side or on doctor's side when it comes to the network. We'll ask them. I mean, if there is an issue, maybe we'll have to. Maybe doctor, you can switch between two networks and see, because I find that you.
Am I not clear?
Yes, sometimes you get stuck. Did you notice anything
So I
from
will
my
switch
side?
my network and see.
Yes. Let's hear from the audience also in the meantime. Do you hear doctor's voice well?
Okay.
Let me see. Yeah, so Anjali is saying doctor is breaking up. We'll wait for a few seconds for doctor.
Are you better now?
Yeah,
Am I better
Anjali
now?
says, yes, Anjali says that you are breaking up. Doctor? Did we lose him completely or?
No, I
Doctor,
think
are you
I'm
there?
there.
Yeah. So, yeah, I still have the same problem.
Yeah,
Anjali says
I'm there.
that you are breaking up.
Is it better now? I'm
Yeah,
between
we'll go.
now. I have moved my fiber to my broadband on my mobile.
So we'll try one more question with you, right? And then now we talk about. Okay, Gihan says still the same, but Gihan, let us try with try one more question and see how it would go. So my next question, doctor, we always hear this statement from day one: prevention is better than cure. One apple a day keep the doctor away and all that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But then now it's the pandemic, right? So how can we apply prevention is better than cure to COVID-19?
Sorry. So I think it's important that you have to realize one thing. These viruses are very, very, very active and they know how to infect people. They wait for the slightest opportunity where they can get into you. If you are very careful, they will get into you. So, as most of the statements say, be positive to be negative with the virus. So, you have to be very positive and you have to be very careful. What are the most important factors? Hand washing is absolutely essential before and after handling things, handling equipment, all that. There you look after your hand washing. Then number two, you have to look at basically social distancing. Now, even with wearing the mask, some people don't wash their hands, they handle the mask, they don't look at social distancing. So it's very important, hand washing and social distancing going par with the use of the mask. So the face mask is number one, put it that way.
Yes.
Number two, number three, you bring in the hand washing and the social distancing, which has to go together. So all three have to work together. Very important. You follow. But on the other hand, what is the most important thing more than this is vaccination. So people have to realize the only way that you'll get some control of this infection is to be vaccinated. It's not that you won't get the infection. You may still get it, but it will be in a milder form. You will survive the ordeal. You will get better quickly. And why we tell you, even though you are double vaccinated, use mask, social distancing, and hand wash, because you can still be carrying the virus. So it is very important, though you are vaccinated, that you use the mask, you hand wash, you maintain social distancing is absolutely essential. That is where we have really gone wrong. And I partly blame the parents for the children to get infected. Because, Amita, all the children have been at home now these days.
Yes.
Where did they go? They didn't get any chance of going anywhere. Right?
No.
So who brings the infection home? Either the father or the mother who is going to work and who are not being careful. Number one. Number two, if they have an orderly who is coming home to help, who comes with the daily worker, who is not vaccinated. So there are few glitches on this, and you have to realize the fact that you have to look at ways and means of preventing these things. Those are the affordable people. But we know that there is enough and more people who can't afford that sort of life. So who live in shanty dwellings, who live in line houses, all that. So vaccination had to be the most important priority to get things under control while we maintained all this. So till the vaccines came up, it was face mask, hand washing, social distancing. Once the vaccination came on board, it is vaccination, face mask, hand wash, and social distancing. Absolutely essential. I don't think you can cut corners for this. And if you look at all the countries who are vaccinated well also, like taking Japan, taking other Israel and all that, they are having surges of infection because there is a places where there's a small breakdown on this control. And then it becomes a major issue for us. You follow? So it is very important that you maintain. So as methods, these are the four most important factors.
So, but with all these education and everything, there are still adults who are reluctant to get their vaccines, and the government has to now, come with rules and regulations. Okay, your card, vaccination card, is your passport to the shopping mall or to whatever. So what you say is parents are putting their kids in danger.
Yeah, because in any that's right. That is one method. Psychologically, you must realize, the parents should realize that they are putting two parties in danger. their parents, that is the parents' parents, the grandparents who are over the 60, 70 years of age people, and the children who are under 12 years of age or 18 years of age or whoever who is there, who is not vaccinated. So we are making both the vulnerable. We lost you again, right? Okay.
No, doctor, that's the thing.
Can we go back onto the?
Yes. I think it's better. We'll switch.
Shall I go shift back to?
Yes. So our fans here, please bear with us. It's probably due to the rain.
Is this better?
Yes, it's better now.
I think this
Thank
is
you.
the better. Right. Okay. So
Doctor,
I'm basically back on SLT fiber. So
okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Loud and
right.
clear. Yeah.
So basically,
we have,
I think,
yes.
Getting the vaccination is the most important factor. And all countries have this problem where you have these anti-vaxxers, who don't want to get vaccinated. You can see what is happening in Florida now. So, the governor did not want the vaccine. He said the Floridians are fine. And I was speaking to one of my classmates who lives in Florida. He said there are 1,000 deaths a day, they're losing people like hell because they're not vaccinated and they're not careful. So sometimes you get this, how do you call them? You have to give them a different name tag so that, they're not using their brains. So I think we are in a much better wicket than that. And, our health system is one of the best. The preventive health system is one of the best in the world, we should say.
Yes.
And there have been a lot of input from that so that we have had some control. But, you can't run it like an, military camp, because you can see, though we advise people not to go out, not to get involved, Sri Lankans don't listen. Only death, this as a part, they're only frightened of death. However much the government informed them not to mix up, not to have functions, all that, people do things. The slide, well known for a small party, small session, and then come back, and then some fellow has got infected, the whole bunch is infected. So it is a problem which is not something to Sri Lanka. So it is very difficult for them to have control and be at home, which is not happening for us. You follow?
Yeah.
So I think I would blame who have not taken it seriously on two aspects. One is not going for the vaccine. Second thing is not being careful with their preventive methodology so that they don't bring the infection home. I think the two things have to be done perfectly if we were to prevent this sort of catastrophe. And I hope and pray that the present lockdown will improve the situation. We may have an extension of the lockdown sometimes, but I think on the long run we may need it. But I are suffering because of the food issue. The government has to manage the economy. So all those things come into play. It is not only the health. So it is, I would call it economics. So whether your health plus your means in a stand because of all these issues. You follow? So more the vaccination, faster the vaccination, better the survival.
Yeah. Thank you, doctor. A lengthy explanation, but very simple. So I would like to ask our audience. We have Gihan, Asma, Anjali, Shabna. Please, if you have any questions, you don't get to meet Dr. Ajanthan on a regular basis now. Where I used to go and show our kids and also have a little chit chat and come. That opportunity is no more. Okay, Anjali is having a question, doctor. Do you think vaccination for children will happen anytime soon in Sri Lanka?
And it is this. Yes, it may happen soon, but I don't know how soon. I cannot give you an answer for this because the children are affected. And if you want to start schools, I think the over 12-year-olds may need to be vaccinated. So you know that already Pfizer vaccine, I think, has got the approval for to be given over 12 years of age. But we must make sure that we have sufficient stocks and we immunize all the children equally. We have a good immunization system. I mean, the medical officer of health officers, the public health midwives with the public health inspectors, our vaccination rates are fantastic as far as preventive medicine goes. So availability matters, and we can cover the crowd. So if there, I don't know what the health department and the minister would decide and the government would decide, but I think on the long run, vaccinating children become an absolute essentiality because it's not that they most of the time they have a mild illness. One child who is having a major illness, it is our duty to make sure that we prevent that happening. So I think it is very important that we get the vaccination strategy in so that we will be able to vaccinate even the 12 years and above, and then depending on what strategies we have, whether we will go down to 6 years or not.
Okay, doctor.
But it should be happening in the near future.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from Asma. How important is it for children less than 5 years to wear a mask? This is the most difficult age. You know, they don't keep the mask.
My God, I think. Can I say make one comment?
Yes,
if
please.
Parents are careful at home and then they don't bring the infection home and the children are in-house, you need a mask. Basically, when do you need the mask? When you bring the infection home and when you want to take your children out some, it's very difficult to get the under 5-year-old to wear a mask, plus or minus a face shield. But there are some children who enjoy doing that, like wearing a cooling glass. You know, they wear sunglasses. They like to imitate adults. So parents, they have to make it more interesting for the child. So they may have to use it, have them colorful mask, make them the cloth mask, which can be washed and used daily. They can have their, what the legends that they like printed on it, like the Winnie the Pooh or the teddy bears or something like that. So they have to make it more interesting. You can't just give a normal mask, surgical mask, and tell this 4-year-old make a dagan in the kela. You can't do that with that baby. No? So you have to realize and improvise methodologies where it makes it more like livable and interesting. So if the child has a cloth mask which is appropriately fitting and which has all these Mickey Mouse and all that printed on it, they would like to use it. And they may like to use it. But as I told you, it is important that the parents don't bring the infection. So children can survive, preschoolers can survive without any major problem. So it is only because the parents brought the infection home that the children have to go through all this for them. You follow what I mean? So that is the issue. But you can, if you can make them wear it, I would make use of it. I won't avoid it. That is the safest option.
Okay, so Gihan is saying the quarantine curfew is not operating as we expected. Yesterday, I had to visit the crime record division for a meeting, and there are plenty of vehicles moving on the road, police on the road directing traffic. This is the problem with Sri Lankans.
I think because of the economy that the shutdown is not a complete curfew. It's only a lockdown. They check occasional vehicles, I think. I'm not an authority on this line to give you an answer for this, but I think they have to balance between prevention of infection and the economy not running down. So, which to hold work having close to people going to work. Okay, even if you take patients coming to hospital, the numbers of people coming to hospital even when they are sick has come down. I do online video consultation. My online video consultation numbers have gone up drastically in the last 2-3 weeks. So you can see, though we see vehicles on the road, it is not as crowded as before, and there are people who are very careful and who don't take the opportunity to go. But it is not a curfew, so you won't see a zero run. You won't see a zero tolerance. You will see people, because there are, the hospital staff have to come for work, have to go back home. They have shift duty. There are essential services which has to take place. People have to be delivered with raw provisions and goods for their houses because the supermarkets are closed. So many things have to be looked into. So I think you cannot have a complete lockdown here. It's very, very difficult to have a curfew system. So I think that is the reason why they have looked at a 50-50 like run. And maybe that you will not see the numbers going down for 2-3 weeks. So you may have 2-3 weeks to see whether it has been effective and the numbers have really gone down or not.
Okay, Doctor, coming back to kids at home, I would like to pay attention to food habits of children. Children are at home, and now I'm talking to a pediatrician, so food habits at home during lockdown. Not only lockdown, even now for kids, it's a complete lockdown for so long. Parents go out and come.
Yeah. It's not only for the children, it is for the parents also. Parents also at home, they are also eating most of the time. When parents come to see me, I see, whom I have been seeing regularly over the last 4-5, say 10 years, 12 years. So to see now the mothers have started gaining weight more than the fathers, I think, because they are most at home and they are nothing else to do. They are eating most of the time. Like I was joking, but still possible. So I think there are a few things that we should realize. One, the importance of early morning sun to produce your vitamin D. We live in a country which is a tropical country. Our skin is dark skin. If you have a white person and a white skin person and a dark skin person side by side with the same amount of sunlight, the white skin person will produce more vitamin D than us. We have been vitamin D sufficient because we have had enough sunlight, not because of the dark. So the dark skin prevents us from getting the vitamin D, but still early morning sunlight is important for about 2 hours. That's the WHO recommendation. So people who can afford to have that, the parents have to make it a point that they take the children out, go for a short walk in the garden, make sure that they get the early morning sun. So they want physiological vitamin D production, which has been a problem now for most of the indoors. With this online education, there is no activity. They don't go to school, they don't go and play games, they don't run around, they don't get tired. So none of them are happening. So because these are not happening, that what do they do most of the time? They are seated on the couch watching TV or watching online classes, and they are munching biscuits or munching potato chips or something they are eating. So the screens, what is the for this? We call them the butt. So they are eating and becoming bloated. Or most of the call them the couch potatoes. They are seated on the couch and eating potato chips the whole time. So overweight and obesity has become a major issue over this pandemic. You have to accept that fact. And we advise parents, please look at how you can change this. One option is to make sure that you give them healthy food so that you bring down the chance of themselves developing overweight and obesity, which will also lead to diabetes, which will lead to liver problems and all that. So giving fruit, bran crackers, biscuits, which have less energy in it, and avoiding fried food. So things like that, the diet style had to change, but it has to be nutritious and it has to be tasty also for the child. But at the same time, some form of activity inside the house even. Where they get tired, they run around and play and they enjoy themselves so that they're tired and they burn their energy. So overweight is a problem. Vitamin D levels being down is an issue. And being inside the house, no friends, there's a lot of psychological effect on these children. there is a lot of mental issues. So it is very important that parents realize that and not to fault the children, and they must find avenues talking to their friends and relatives and people who know about it, how to circumvent the problem and solve things out. So that is the other aspect of it. Are not affected by this issue. And very important that you see to that also. So those are the main things that they have to really look at, and to see that the child manages well at home, so that when school starts, they are comparatively fit and perfect to carry on with their school activities. And we hope and pray at least by the end of 2021 or 2022 that we will start schooling so in a proper method, so these children enjoy their life. And once you have finished your school life, you will not have a life like that again. So I think that is the best
Yes.
time in your life, no? Whatever said. And
And
we as friends, we have our
very-
classmates whom we meet even now. And we still talk about what we did in school, and that is what keeps our brain ticking. And I think if you
Yes.
don't want to feel old and you want to feel young, I think that is the important factor. On that line, I would say I'm very happy that we have this online, the Zoom and the WhatsApp chats and the Twitter chats and all that, so that you are able to connect with your old friends and
Yeah.
times, and you enjoy yourself and keep your brain ticking, and your brain secretes a lot of chemical products which keeps you at young, so which is very, very important. And I think that matters a lot. Very important.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we have Kasun who says, good evening, Amita and Dr. Ajantan. Hi, Kasun. Thank you for
Hi,
joining
Kasun.
us. So
We are happy
my
that you
next
are with.
question. Yeah, of course. My next question, Doctor. Now, kids also are getting COVID-19. We have seen it. And you actually pointed out very correctly, it's the parents who are bringing the virus home because kids are not going out. Yeah. So now you talked about certain food that the kid should take. Now let me also ask. We are also looking at prevention and all that. So can certain food what we eat help us maybe at least recover fast or keep us away from the virus in some way?
There are so many food stuff that we talk about which can prevent infections and all that. There's a lot of herbal remedies, but you have to accept one thing, Amita. Those are all anecdotal and which has come culturally over the years and which we use. I mean, we confess, we drink kottamalli, we drink paspangua, we take kuluhal, we take other things. So where it prevents us garlic and all that, helps with fight infection, immunity, preventing gastritis, all that is there. But even we do all those, we should also look at how we can prevent coming to us by scientific means also. You keep having
Yes.
the nutritious food and saying that I can eat all this and go and have the virus and come and it won't do anything to me. You can't have that mentality. So it is very important that our food is nutritiously balanced, where it helps us to maintain a good immune system. So eating a lot of green vegetables, making sure that you take in, things like garlic and, seed and things like that, which if you look back at the old history of I would say the tropical countries or the Mediterranean lifestyle, because the temperature was high, they had to use various to preserve food. That is why the Asian food content has so much of spices, and we eat a lot of spicy food as such. And I should confess to you now, you know that if you have gone to a vegetarian restaurant, you would have got idli and sambar. We call this sambar something called aspatida, perunkayam. We call it perunkayam in Sinhala and Tamil, which is
Yes.
added into this food. It has tremendous antiviral property. Doctors aspatida powder in their rooms to prevent viral infection. Believe it or not. But what I should want to say is that yes, eating that sort of stuff is very good and which will help us. But that does not mean you go and get the infection and come and expect this to prevent from it. You follow what I mean? So we have
Yes.
herbal remedies. You have to realize the fact that there are herbal remedies which can help improve the cough, prevent infections. There are various products which prevents coughs and colds. There is a product called Echinacea, which is available in the UK, which is available in Sri Lanka also now, as cough syrups and immune modulators. So not only food, but there are other herbal remedies which will prevent you or help you fight infection. Those are all additional factors. You follow what I mean, Amit? It is not
Yes.
singly responsible. It is all together, all put together will help you to. So you have to have a nutritiously balanced diet which contains all this, so that you are able to fight infection with your body immune system. But I can't give you one item which will improve all this way. You follow? It's a multifactorial issue. So you have to accept that. You follow? So though we talk about vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc and all that, those don't stand up. We take this, tell them what to take. But when they ask me, doctor, will this prevent myself getting it 100%? I said, no way. This will support yourself. You follow? It will give you
Yes.
something to prevent you 100%. So you must not go home with the idea that make a ගත්තොත් ජීවිතේම perfect කියලා. No, it won't be like that. You follow what I mean? So prevention is the most important factor. Vaccination, hand washing, face mask, and social distance.
Okay. Thank you. My next question is a crucial question. We see that families are getting infected, including the kids. Right? Sometimes what happens is, I mean, no fatalities, like, you somehow recover. But then if kids are infected along with the family, what can parents do to support and look after the kids if they get infected with COVID-19 virus?
The good part of it is this, that most of the children do well. They don't have major problem. But that does not mean that you do not look after them. You do not ignore their illness. Very important. So if you really look at the factors, and if you look at, there have been various case studies, and the pediatric intensivist and the College of Pediatricians have talked about this. And what are the crucial issues that we should be looking at? If the child is having high fever, over 38.5 degrees centigrade, continuously for more than 24 to 48 hours, they have to seek medical advice. Very important, either COVID or no COVID, they are advised to know whether the child is fine, stable, no problem. Number one. So when you have high fever, you can afford to say that the viral load is high and there may be more problems for you. So child is vomiting, not taking enough fluids, so that you know that the child needs to look after his body milieu interior, we call it, the body pH status and all that. And if the child is vomiting and intake is poor, the urine output will go down, and then the baby will have more trouble as such. So prevention of that is important, so that you know that the child is hydrated well. So we always advise parents, keep the down when needed. Don't give paracetamol, but also make sure you hydrate the child well. And I always say not to give water alone. You must have other solutes. That's why this Jeevani is a well-known product, which is very, very important that people use it when they have high fever, so that they are able to hydrate their children well. The fever and hydration is important. Then the third point is, if the child is developing a bad cough, then the child needs to be seen to where you need child doesn't have a changes of a COVID pneumonia or a lower respiratory infection or something like that. So if you put all these three in the picture, the fever, high fever, vomiting, and the cough and all that, if that sort of a thing is there, then you have to make sure and show your child things are normal. Now, if you look back at, there have been various studies, and they have shown that with this COVID infection, we are seeing people who their oxygen levels are coming down, but they don't have any other symptoms, like a silent hypoxia. We call it hypoxia, low oxygen. You are silently dropping your oxygen without any symptoms. So that can become important that you check your oxygen saturation with a pulse oximeter. So now, as a regular measure, I advise all the parents, if they come with high fever, the children, and they have a cold or a cough, they have a first contact with COVID, I tell them, please get a pulse oximeter and check your reading at least twice a day or 3 times a day. Very important. Normal viral fevers, even COVID infection, will get better in 5 days. The fever will settle and they get better. But if your cough is persistent after 5 days, if your fever is going on, it is very, very important that you go and seek proper medical advice, not to ignore. 90% to 99% of the time, you will be normal. You don't want to miss that 1%. You have to make sure that that 1% of children who fall into that category who are very sick have to be saved. If they need to be saved, they have to be caught early. If they need to be caught early, the parents have to be vigilant. And if that is done, then most of them would survive without onslaught. I think that is the important factor. And we have one issue here because parents have so much a morbid fear. With a mild fever, they go and get admitted in hospital, and the hospital is loaded with patients with COVID-19 in the government sector, where it is very difficult to differentiate between the bad patient and normal patient. So parents should take the onus to see whether their child is looking okay and there is no problem. They must have a pulse oximeter, check it. If they are not happy, they have to go to hospital. Very important. But just because there was one spike of fever and you go and get into hospital, you can't be discharged till your fever settles. So you are stuck in the hospital even though you are doing well. You got my point. So
yes,
you must look for the bad signs and decide, no, I must take my child to hospital. So that sort of an advice has to be given by the GP, and the parents should. If you to manage at home and the child is looking sick, please go to hospital. High fever more than 24 to 48 hours, not settling, doesn't look good, vomiting, not passing urine well, go to hospital. High fever with a bad cough, the saturations are not right, you have to go to hospital. Very, very important. So, but parents should remember that 99% of them don't fall into this category. You follow what I mean? So it is only that 1% where we don't want to miss the bus. That's the important factor.
True. Okay, doctor. So
I hope I have been clear.
Very clear, very clear. So I have two more questions. You know, that those are the two questions. Number one, the one before the last. If someone wants to consult you, and I know you could. I'm sure you are still available in hospitals. But
I'm full time in the private sector, so I work in a few of the hospitals around in Colombo. But most of the parents now with this pandemic don't want to have a physical consult. Very rarely they come for physical consults unless they have their immunization or they have a major issue which has to get sorted out. But most of the time, most parents either use the online video consultation systems, which different online video consultation systems like there's one ODoc is available, Doc 990 is available. Also, there are some parents who don't have the facilities or who are not on it, but they have a smartphone. They are willing to use their WhatsApp. And basically, what I tell them is, if you can't come, you can make an online appointment and send the receipt. I will give you a call and you can have a consult for whatever you want to sort out, because it is also for two reasons, Amita. One is parents have morbid fear of coming to a hospital. Number one.
Yes.
Number two, they being at home, even if you tell them babata una wedi poddak tetawatu me lara කරලා ගුණ බස්සලා Panadol syrup, paracetamol syrup මේ ගන්න. They are very happy. They want someone to take control. You follow what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Ask
especially
me about
the
it.
newborns, parents, first timers, all that.
Yeah.
So they need someone to tell them that. That's all that they need. They don't need anything high tech. They just need someone to tell them what to do.
Psychological
But,
support.
it is psychologically support. So I think, it is very important that, there are so many parents who have found fault with me that I'm not responding, but I'm a 365 person. There are some days where, you sleep late and you don't get up for the call at 2 o'clock in the morning, and some people curse you for that. But most of the time, parents have been happy that, they have been given appropriate advice. So it is nothing major, but, whether they have to go to hospital, whether they can manage at home, what can they do as first aid. So small. And, I always say that we come into the always to earn, but at the same time, there is a major service component on it, So you have to realize the fact that the service component matters. You have to give them that service component. And as a guest, I know that how much service component I have put in, and I think parents have been happy with it. So, in the time of crisis, they need someone to help them out, and that is important.
Yeah. Doctor, we have a question from Anjali. Before I throw you the last question, there are mixed views about steam bathing. What's
that
your
is
view?
True. Anjali, you're perfectly correct. Yes. And now, flow, very important. You follow?
Doctor, we didn't hear you.
The go with the flow. You follow what you didn't hear me that also?
No.
My signal strength is okay. When I say go with the flow, say go with the flow, you see, do what other people are also doing it now. So the culturally, Humalaya Allaneka has become a major thing in every household. You follow? Taking a bit of steam. You have various coastline people making pots, tubes and all that for you to take steam. But you have to accept one thing, that it will give you a warmth inside your oropharyngeal cavity, that is the mouth and the nasal cavity. When it goes down, it has lost its heat. If it goes down at the same down to the lung, it may cause more trouble. You follow what I mean? So steam helps in clear the nose, clear the throat, and all that. But there are two with steaming, because the water vapor which we use for steam doesn't have salt in it. It goes down. What happens? It gets the blood, the epithelial lining or the wall cell lining. Basically, the water gets absorbed because there is less salt outside, but there is more salt inside. The water gets absorbed. So then there is cellular swelling, and the people reciprocally get bad when they take steam. That is a known fact. You know what I mean? So, improve karanda monada karanda, you may have to steam with salt water. You follow what I mean? Right? Okay. But that does not also help much. You follow? So we take warm steam. I don't say no, but not as 10, 15 times, once or twice a day may help you. So Anjali's question is perfectly pertinent, that some people react badly for steam. So if you're a person who is reacting badly for steam, please avoid it. Don't handle it. That's the safest option. You follow what I mean? So you can take warm things to drink and make sure your throat is cleared, and you can gargle with some salt water, because we concentrated salt water gargling helps the throat the same way, because the concentration is high. It will pull the cellular fluid out and it will shrink the cells, and you feel better. That we call hypertonic saline or strong salt water gargle. I've given a detailed explanation.
That's a very scientific explanation. So my last question to you is overall, what is your advice to parents, who are having kids to practice during this COVID pandemic period?
I think this is one of the best opportunities that God has given for parents to get close to their kids. I think most of the families, it has been, it is basically a marathon run. Both the parents are working, they don't have time for their kids. the children are left to be looked after on their own, and they are very busy when they come after a hard day's work. Some kids have been doing in school, all that. I think capital God has involved to make sure that this pandemic helps parents to be with their children. I think that is one of the good things that has happened. So they see what is happening at home. Parents may be cursing the children, they are so troublesome, but that is life. You have to realize the fact that when they become big and when they leave your house, then you regret, my God, you should have been much more nicer to them when they were smaller. You follow what I mean? So I think the important factor is to realize and how to handle the situation and circumvent the problem and keep them happy. It is we who have brought our children to life, no, Amita. They didn't come because so we are bound by tradition and by scientific means that we have to look after our children.
True.
If we did not get married and have children, the children wouldn't have been born. We bring the children to life, and we have to realize the fact that we look after them happily and properly. So on that ground, I think we have to also look at it the other way. As parents who have looked after us, whether we are duty bound to look after our parents. And it is something which is very, very important. And if you take even in the Sri Lankan setting, there are more and more elderly homes developing because they don't have time for their parents. The children, they don't have time for the children or their parents. And we have an issue on that line. We are developing more and more elderly homes. But I think it is a cost factorial issue also. But at the same time, I would like, we have to realize the fact that we live in a culture that we look sides and, look after our children, look after our parents also. And what you reap, you will sow. What you sow in this life, retribution is in this life itself. I always believe in that. And I think what you do, you reap. So what you sow, you reap. And very important that you have an open mind and a kind heart to give what in life, but you have your regrets and you correct yourself and see that you don't make that mistake again, and that is the most important factor. Okay, thank you, Amita. Thank you for
everything. So we have been talking to Dr. Rajanthan, a pediatrician. And most importantly, it's the pediatrician who looked after my two kids until they are grown up. Even my wife was recently telling me, we need to take our elder son to Dr. Rajanthan. I said, he's 16. Yeah, but then he will be more than happy to see you.
I have 22, 23-year-olds still coming. Children who are married and they have kids, I look after both the daughter and the granddaughter. So you follow. There are people who want to come and see you.
You made your son also a doctor now, so we are not worried now. Thank you, Dr. Rajanthan, and thank you everyone who has joined and asked questions and participated. Even though we had a little bit of a glitch on our network, I think we managed. Thank you so very much and stay safe. Next week, we'll be talking about blockchain technology with a blockchain expert. So, Doctor, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Abhita. Thank you so much. Thank you for all those people who joined us. And I think it is available on LinkedIn Live. It's available on Facebook. It's available
on YouTube as well.
You have a look. And Amita, thank you so much. And I know how much you have developed yourself, for knowing you for the last 15 to 20 years. And I'm very, very happy for you. Thank you again. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.